welcome to this edition of the 4NewMobility Leadership Talk. And today, my guest is Udi Meridor. And Udi Meridor is the co-founder and the chief operating officer of City Transformer. And City Transformer has developed a new vehicle, which in my view will really revolutionize transport mobility in cities. And now I would like to welcome you, Udi. Thank you very much for having accepted this interview. I'm really excited and I'm very, very much looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you very much, Herman. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for the hospitality.
And maybe, Udi, if you like, maybe you say a few words, about yourself, just so that the audience get to know you a bit better.
So, thank you. My background is nanophysics, computer science. I started working afterwards a little bit in the space industry, satellites, mainly developing satellites. Then started my entrepreneurial career with a few ventures that I have formed. One of them is a non-profit in nanosatellites to promote nanosatellites back 15 years ago when it was the early days of nanosatellites. Continued with another venture in solar thermal energy and another one in internet and service communication. And then joined the Singularity University, which is a NASA-based campus dedicated for exponential growing technologies and their implication on humanity, with a clear goal to take these and map these technologies, confront them with the 10 biggest challenges of the world, inequality, quality of life, quality of water, pollution, and other things, in order to create ventures that will really impact for good, impact 1 billion people over a decade. And that's really what I believe we are doing here. Apart from this, also a father for three small kids, three small boys.
Wonderful. So this is not your first startup. Did I understand this correctly, Udi? And maybe there my question would be, how is there a difference now in the context of City Transformer to the other startups? Or is there something different? Something specific to City Transformer?
So I think that there is something specific to City Transformer for two reasons. First of all, the early ones, also the non-profit for nanosatellites, was also about disruption in an industry that usually takes one project for 10 years for 300 million euros and cannot fail, and just try to look it differently and look for a small swarm of satellites, which was also a disruption, but it was a non-profit because it was very, very hard to move things in this in the space industry, same as automotive. But it was 15 or 17 years ago, 17 actually. The other ones were more of a different kind of ventures, but I think that the change was also in my experience and my way of thinking post Singularity University, that I was more poisoned in to look and map the exponential trends that we are following in order to get ahead of the curve, and also look for long-term vision, which doesn't necessarily stop, and in our case doesn't stop in a car, in a small vehicle, but goes further beyond to mobility services and to become eventually the perfect autonomous pod. And it's all about mobility and moving people inside cities, and not just about a single car, as important as it will be.
Yeah, and now you start already a bit introducing City Transformer, and I'm very keen now to learn more about it. And here we see already the vehicle. Can you maybe explain to us a bit more about the vehicle itself? How it works, what is really the difference to other vehicles which are already in the cities, and what are really the specific characteristics of this vehicle?
So the main goal for City Transformer was to really create and transform cities. In order to really transform cities, you need to think out of the box, to think differently, and to understand, first of all, the problems that cities are facing. So the main problems that cities are facing in terms of mobility is congestion, the loss of time, of money, pollution that is being caused, and going just full EV of even full hydrogen is not enough. take a satellite picture of Berlin, of Munich, of Paris. 10 years from now, you'll see tons, and maybe even all the cars will be either electric or hydrogen. Same congestion are there, same loss of time, loss of GDP is over there, exactly. And also what we look as the green areas inside cities, eventually when you put more and more people or inhabit cities with more and more people, and that's going everywhere, migration to cities, you eventually evacuate city from the centers just to build more roads in order to be able to enter the city. Eventually you take more green areas and even real estate and just put them aside for just building more roads. It doesn't make any sense, and therefore, and with the notion of statistics, that 85% of the time you drive by yourself in a car, and about 60% of the rides in most of Europe are being conducted within 5 kilometers. The idea was to create a vehicle that is perfect for cities. And in order to be perfect for cities, you need to be efficient, you need to be small, you need to be electric. And how small? We were aiming to do it in a motorcycle footprint, and that's the difference between us and most others. Toyota tried to do so. Eventually they chose a tilting solution, and it's mainly because stability is not there. Stability is a problem if you go under 1 meter and you still want to drive fast. In our category L7E, it's about 90 kilometers per hour, the max. But it's a solution that not everybody keen or like if you haven't driven a motorcycle. So we try to go for a naive or crazy approach. Let's change the chassis. When you need it, it's as narrow as a legal motorcycle parking in most of the places in Europe, 1 meter on 2.5 meters. And when you need it, the vehicle widens, you get the extra safety, stability. It happens while driving, and it took us about 8 years and dozens of mechanisms to develop this unique steering and folding mechanism. And then you can continue and drive faster, more stable, and more safer to go up to 90 kilometers per hour. The goal for the being narrow is not just to park. The goal of being narrow is also to drive in future narrow lanes that cities are talking about, also to get maybe into city centers when you can drive more like a motorcycle and hopefully get the benefit of a motorcycle in some cities, and we started talking about it. So it's mainly about having a two-seater that can fulfill most of your daily usage inside city, fully electric, and this 4 maybe special things or USPs that we are looking for to make us different from others. One of them, of course, is the adaptable chassis and the ability to be 1 meter size, that four of our vehicle can park in a single parking place. Secondly is a M1 user experience. We are looking to create an impact, and if you want to create an impact, you need to convert people from their Audis or BMWs or each and every big vehicle, and not from an e-scooter or from public transportation. In order to do so, you need to create an M1 experience, like small things that we do not appreciate in a daily life or commuting, like maybe electric windows, like maybe infotainment system, like maybe air condition. Sometimes they do not exist in the small vehicles. Secondly, the third one is safety. In order to really create an impact, you need to change the mindset of people of looking at L7E as a less safe vehicles, and we are aiming to be the safest in our category. And for this, we are embedding different kind of systems that we'll talk about it maybe afterwards. And the last thing is a ready-to-share out-of-the-box vehicle, which really means that when you go out from the factory, the vehicle can be shared. And this also creates much more utilization and a bigger impact, 5 to 6 times impact, environmental impact of our vehicle.
Yeah, but now you made me curious. Yeah, when you were talking about safety, you said maybe we can cover this a bit later. Yeah, what are the specific safety features which you have here to increase the acceptance of your vehicle?
So first of all, I think that we found the perfect partner in terms of the chassis itself, and we are going to work in Italy. By the way, most of the vehicle is European and Israel innovation. You may say German engineering and Italian now flavor or design, because we will be manufacturing in Italy. But yes, it's a pan-European. Most of the supply chain is Europe. And we found the perfect partner in Turin to manufacture and do the industrialization process now with us. That also knows how to design the vehicle. And the City 2, that's one of the main differences, is already from stamped sheet metals, monocoque, more like the regular automotive industry, than tubular chassis and plastics like most of the small vehicles, which give it much more stiffness in terms of the vehicle itself. And second one, we're embedding an airbag. Most of these vehicles are not embedding an airbag. We are planning to embed a ABS system, ESC system as well. And eventually, both for our unique mechanism and maybe not just for it, but it's a passive ADAS that also is becoming, of course, the default in each and every car, but not in the L7 segment. So a passive ADAS that will assist us also eventually making this autonomous folding and unfolding, but for the daily usage. So safety is one of the main features for us, and we think that that's the barrier that people needs to go in order to get into the store and then or get online and say, okay, I want this vehicle for my wife or for my husband or for my kids.
I mean, you're the co-founder of this company. Can you take us a bit on your journey? Yeah, like what was the starting point, maybe of this idea or this development of the vehicle, and how did things then develop further? Yeah, I mean, you have then developed the technology. You have to find partners. You test the vehicles at different places. Yeah, can you take us a bit on this journey, and maybe give us some information about what you consider the main milestones? Yeah, so that you succeed on your journey.
So yes, of course. First of all, it's a big task to do, and of course, it's not myself alone. My partner, Asaf Formosa, is also the co-founder of City Transformer, and we had also a few members of the team that were joined earlier, including, of course, Eyal Kramer, which is our chief designer, and others. We started because of a problem, inside cities. Just moving to the cities, understanding that cities are clogged, you cannot move inside cities. You need to do something differently. And when you just zoom out, you understand that it's a global phenomenon, not just a local phenomenon. It's not just Israel, it's not just Europe, it's all over the place, and it's just growing because migration to cities are growing. And also the trend actually of vehicles is becoming heavier. I mean, vehicles are becoming larger, becoming heavier, and it makes no sense for it. Today, it's almost an average of 2 ton, 1.8 or 1.9 ton, to take most of the time a single passenger inside a vehicle. So the early days was just trying to figure out how we can do something which is super small, and then understanding stability that we need to change the width of the vehicle and how we can solve it. It took us a few years and about 7 generation of prototypes of different mechanisms. We tested dozens of mechanisms, both of steering and of a folding mechanism. And then when we first decided that we want to do something that will pass homologation, because it will be the first ever vehicle in the world that passed homologation, even if it's a single road at the beginning, we knew that we want to do it in the best place to do it, and it's Germany. Because when you do it in Germany, nobody can tell you, listen, you're full straight ahead, you did everything according perfect. So we started working in Germany, also with Udi Meridor, that were the perfect partner for us for almost 2 years, up until we launched the CT1 at the IAA Munich 2.5 years ago. But taking it also back again, one of the important partners that joined us at the early stages was Professor Yontel Forde, that is best known as the father of the smart city car, Daimler city car. He brought a lot of experience, and he really sees and believes that that's the next generation of smart, if you may call it, in terms of the concept of a city car, because it's smaller, it's narrower, it's more affordable, and it's fully electric, and it's shareable. And that's exactly what we are doing. So a lot of experience. I think that during the time, challenging enough, and still is to get on board strategic partners, to get strategic tier 1 to go and believe in your vision. Most of the tier 1 supplier, I can say, are pretty much conservative. They know how to do and to work with big OEMs. They know how to work when they're on the other side, maybe 700 pages of a book that you know exactly what you want from each part, and 200 people that are working in order to reach this 700 pages book of specification. Here it's a little bit different. I think that each and every startup sees it like this, but especially us as a lean startup. You don't have the money that the big ones have, but then you don't have the manpower that the big ones have, but you have the vision, you have the passion, you have something that others know that should be different. And I think from this, when you convince the tier ones, and there are that came along and there are that didn't come along, but when you convince them, you create something which is different, which I think it's a mutual, maybe I think mutual relationship, more of a based on I don't know if you may call it friendship, but business friendship maybe, or even friendship, because you are going at the same way. We are open, we are transparent, we are looking to just push forward or assist also our partners that we are working in, bring them to the front, which is a little bit different from the classic OEM. So eventually it brought us to City One, as you mentioned. Earlier, City One was exposed in Germany. We got a lot of traction in Germany, and we were pretty much happy because a lot of people told us, listen, it's an L7E, it's a European vehicle. If you make it in Germany, it's the toughest market to make it. But if you make it in Germany, you make it everywhere. And the acceptance was pretty much good. I think that up until today, we have the most pre-orders coming from Germany as the number one country. Some of the things that we are now working on, and I think that's maybe the next challenge. The challenge up until 2021, or the end of 2021, was bringing City One as a vehicle, and the first ever vehicle in the world that was foldable and passed homologation, single road admission in Germany. And then from 2021, or the end of 2021 up until today, is going more towards becoming an OEM, with a lot of other things that you're looking for and thinking about an OEM, from industrialization, supply chain, process engineering, how you do, and eventually the assembly line, how you deal with after sales, how you deal with the financing. A lot of things that we are now developing during time, and the challenges are just keep going, but it's good. We believe that we do something different and we'll make the future better in cities.
So when I listen to you, I think you learned also about the whole value chain, yeah, and you see the importance of the full value chain to be really successful on the market. Yeah, I mean, you spoke already a bit about the challenges, yeah, but what would you see as over this time, yeah, of this journey? What would you see was your main challenge, yeah, where maybe your team thought, oh God, how are we doing this? I mean, can we overcome it? I mean, is there one main challenge you could mention?
I think that there were two main challenges. First of all, the main one technical and one financial. So one technical was when we brought the vehicle for the first time. We brought mechanism after we went through dozens of mechanism, and then we started working with the Udi Mobility, understanding that we need to develop for the first time a vehicle that will pass homologation. So first of all, we are located in Tel Aviv. We try to do it in Israel. Eventually, since Israel is not is an automotive company in terms of auto tech, but not in terms of creating a vehicle and a serial production vehicle, we couldn't find a partner that will assist us that has the experience to do so. So we needed to look outside. We went to the US, to France, to Germany, and eventually we understood that Germany is the best place for us in order to do so. But then we needed to redesign the mechanism in order to fit the regulator for the first time. So it's completely redesigned mechanically. Everybody talked these days, even back then, about steer-by-wire. Eventually, for most cases and for regulators, it doesn't work in most of the time. And back then, especially 2.5 years ago, so we understood that we need to do everything mechanically. And we need to overcome also the problem of each and every step of the way. While you widen the vehicle or while you narrow the vehicle, you need to do it while driving with a full control, moose test, if you may call it, and each and every time, or panic steering that you can overdo, and each time that you need to do. So it was a mechanical challenge to go over it, and it took us a little bit of a time, but eventually we overcame it. And second challenge was more of a financial. I think that when you look at startups, you look at the success stories, you look at Airbnbs, you look at Tesla, you look at others. First of all, you don't hear about the others that didn't succeed, and it's most of the startups. Then the second thing, you don't remember most of the time that during the days, even of Airbnb, even of Tesla, for instance, were 2 times 48 hours from going bankrupt. So for us, the same way as others, we had a few hurdles. One of them was very, you may say, very painful for us a few years ago, when we had one investors backing down, and we needed to release some of the team members. We needed to do something differently. We left almost without any money, and a lot of the team members, because I think of this more of a family feeling, stayed and volunteered in the company for a few months, and we appreciate it very much up until today. And eventually also some of the suppliers or engineering suppliers back then stayed also with us in these tough times. So it was very tough times, but then we overgrew it with another financial round that was afterwards. But yes, a challenging time, both technically and financial.
Udi, you just mentioned also as one of the challenges, the financing of the company. I mean, is there still something you're needing, you're wishing for in the context of financing? Yeah, because you also talk about partnerships. Yeah, is there still something where you would see an opportunity, for other companies or for investors to join, and to become part of this journey of City Transformer?
So I think all the time, we, as a small startup, eventually a lean startup, we know how to do things very, very lean and very fast, relatively. But eventually, when coming to manufacturing, it's also a numbers game. You need the strong partners. You need the money. And that's the reason for us now initiating another financing round. And for this financing round, as in every round, but specifically here, now that we have launched about a month ago the first industrialized transformer in Turin. Hopefully you will be able to see it in a video. And from now, the process to mass production, and of course to after sales afterwards, we're looking for partners that believe in our journey and in our way, partners that can also join as an investment partners and can also benefit from other things, whether they are strategic fleets or strategic automotive supplier, or in the automotive and even in technology industry that we are talking with a few. So if you believe in the vision that things should be different in terms of city mobility, much more lean, much more sustainable, better movement to people, and more time for yourself, which is the new premium, as we call it. It's less leather seats and more of time to spend with your family, with your friend, giving up or just reducing congestion inside cities. We'll be happy to have you on board.
I mean, we showed already the vehicle, but maybe we can also show now a short video, so that people see how the vehicle is moving, and how beautiful it is. Now, I think for a company like City Transformer, which is doing so much for the sustainability of mobility in cities, the political framework is very important. I don't know what the situation is or was in the context of funding support. Maybe that would be interesting to know a bit about this, if you had any support in this respect. But are there any other wishes you have concerning the political framework you are currently facing in the context of the vehicle and the commercialization of the vehicle?
So yes, I think that eventually, as a small startup, it's not like we have thousands of selling points and political power like the OEMs, of course. So we start looking at it also differently. We start mapping and went into road shows with municipalities, talking to municipalities, try to understand if they believe in the vision, if they believe that we are some part of this new mobility future that they see. Usually we know that getting something from a municipality takes a lot of time, but what we can take is the approach and their support for maybe bringing other fleets to the table to discuss with us, seeing how they can support, not directly but indirectly, to the effort to make their cities better. So we started doing it. We are continuing to do it, of course, but we know it's not enough. And when you take a look and zoom out to the European Union as a whole, and even to different countries, you see something which it's a little bit astonishing, but it's probably politics. It's politics. If you purchase a new EV, whether it's a 4.2 ton EV Hummer, or whether it's just a 2-ton Mercedes or Tesla, you get benefits. You can get a few thousands of euros of benefits, depending on the country, from 3,000 to even 9,000 back then when it was in Germany. But eventually you get a lot of money back. If you purchase an L7E in some European countries, although it's half a ton, it's better for the environment, it's better for the usage, it's better for the city, sometimes you get zero benefits. Sometimes you get a little bit more. And from this, we understood that we need to do something. We cannot do it ourselves. And we formed a coalition of manufacturers, a small manufacturer. We already have 7 different manufacturers with us, and they joined us in order to push for, first of all, specific cities as a test case in Europe, specific countries, and eventually trying also to just make it an even game. We don't want even better subsidies, even if it's better for the city, for the environment, but at least an even game with the big cars. It will make a lot for the city, I think, and for us specifically.
I mean, you spoke about that within City Transformer, you feel like a family, yeah. And especially when you talk about to people in big companies, yeah, they always envy somehow the startup companies, yeah, because they think in these terms, yeah. It's a family. It's less hierarchical. Things are moving quicker. Yeah, there's less paperwork, less bureaucracy. How would you describe your company culture? What would you say is really special, or are you doing some things, yeah, so that there is a family feeling? Yeah, could you give us a bit of insight into this?
I think that it's a company culture that also goes from the inside, but also to the outside, meaning that we treat and we look at our team members, but also our clients and also our suppliers as part of this amazing journey. So, of course, there is openness, first of all, within the company, for sure, for each and every idea, to look, to hear, to think differently. To say, okay, this is not one convention and we're going this way. We didn't know from day one that that's the direction, but the whole idea and the whole benefits of being a startup is the ability to change and to pivot as long as it makes sense. And it's much easier to do so, and the learning curve is faster than if you do it with a big company or a big corporate that cannot, or it takes a lot of time really to change the course of this huge ship compared to us, to a small ship. So for this, everyone, of course, from the employees and everyone can speak freely. We are open in order for everyone to talk with each and every, whether it's management, whether it's everyone inside. We decided to stay in more of a close relationship with also the pre-orders. In the meantime, it's a monthly newsletter. Of course, when everyone approaches, we answer directly. But hopefully next year we'll do also more of a roadshow and other things. And I think that the third thing is, for us as City Transformer, we looked also at this as at the car, because nobody really knows the future. Also as a platform for innovation. So we try to take, and we still are in discussions with different T1s for a little bit of a different model. We are moving fast. We can change and pivot things if we see and some kind of other startups with a mature enough products that makes sense for us to embed at a City Transformer, and for us to become innovative, for them to have a platform. We are also looking for this kind of collaboration, and it's open us different kind of way of thinking. But the astonishing fact wasn't that we thought of using this opportunity because we have a lot of auto tech startups in Israel, a few hundreds, and we are the single platform. But eventually, what happened is also big companies, big tier ones companies, few of the 20 in the world, also are suffering from the same thing. You can sometimes develop an idea, develop a solution, develop a feature, and even if it is mature enough, it takes you years after years after years up until you convince Audi and VW and Renault in order to embed them in the new vehicle. So we started also lately talking to different tier ones also about the opportunity to use City Transformer as a showcase, even for them. They get the benefits of having vehicles on road with the latest technology, and eventually that's what we get, and they get a showcase of these technologies to Audi and to VW in order to win the bigger contracts. So, and for this and for also other reasons, we are fully transparent with our tier ones, with our clients. And I think transparency is one of the main things that we also can provide as a startup, this and a vision. And that's what we are doing all the time. And it keeps the tier ones that want to work with us, it keeps them more close in terms of relationship. They know the status. It's not a hide game. It's not a power game like with the big OEMs. It's a different kind of game.
So you're looking for partnerships, yeah, in the context maybe of tier ones, in the context maybe also of other startup companies, yeah, who would like to join. And you certainly also look for customers, for new opportunities, yeah, to deploy your vehicles. I mean, is it that you focus there mainly with respect to customers for just people who would like to buy these vehicles, or is it also that you're looking for customers where maybe someone wants to create a fleet, yeah, and a sharing operation, yeah? Is this also for you a potential customer, and is this something where maybe you already have some progress?
So usually for startups, you focus on a specific vertical, whether it's B2B or B2C. We are, as you mentioned, right, we have gradually, or will be gradually, moving from vertical to vertical during time. So we'll start with the B2C, deploying most of the vehicle in the first 2 years. It's a better positioning for the vehicle because we look at ourselves as one of the premium vehicles in the category. So it's a good place to start with the B2C. Gradually moving to B2B fleets, everything, of course, is a mix. So even at the beginning, if it's a B2C, it's about 70% of the vehicles, 30% will be dedicated to B2B. Gradually moving to more of a B2B fleets that we are talking right now with. And eventually we see it as a mobility game, as a different game. I think that we have two advantages that most of the vehicles in the category, over most of the vehicle in the category, if you may say. One of them is the ready-to-share vehicle out of the box, out of the factory, and a unique personalized software that we are co-developing with Bosch in this regard for the first time. And the second thing is the size of the vehicle. Now, if you take big compounds, skyscrapers, hotels in the middle of the cities, of big cities in Europe, and you say, let's take a skyscraper in the middle of Berlin of 20 floors, and you say, okay, I will take just 20 parking places and put 80 City Transformer. All of them can be shared by a phone, by an app. You can reserve them a day ahead. Eventually, it's a mobility game, so it's a different kind of game. So, and that's the way I think that in the future we'll consume mobility. It's not like a shared vehicle because it's not a burden to look for parking afterwards. It's easier to put it everywhere. And it's much lower in terms of TCO. So eventually it's lower also in terms of the tariff that you will pay for it, but it saves you also time. And it's not like an e-scooter because it's weather protected and it's safer and everything. But so it's a hybrid solution in between both. And eventually you will meet him just down the elevator. So it's a different evolution that we are going through, and different direction. And yes, we are also in the B2B segment. We are talking to the biggest shared fleets in Europe. Of course, these processes take time, and eventually we haven't started deploying vehicles yet. So it's okay, but we are in the right direction also with some of the biggest sharing fleets in Europe to have our vehicles. We are also and got the first already contract from a life-saving organization, which was interesting. And because of our specific advantages, they tested a lot of vehicles, and eventually they got to the ideation that if you want to react fast, and they use today motorcycle, you can switch a motorcycle with the City Transformer in some of the cases, mainly because their employees are going through accidents when they try to assist others. But at the same time, because it's a shared vehicle and you can just have shared vehicles inside cities, so it's a different mode of operation, and anybody can open it with a smartphone and just arrive to the scene and assist. So more opportunities are being opened. We try to stay more or less focused. So it's a B2C game that's moving to B2B and eventually in the future mobility.
I'm really very impressed by your clear ideas concerning what are the next steps, what are your customers. So maybe building on this, I would like to invite you to think maybe 5 years ahead. I mean, where in an ideal world would you see your company, your products? I mean, I'm sure you will have further generations. Where would you see them? I mean, what is your vision of City Transformer in 5 years?
So I'm just looking for two different angles. One of them is looking straight ahead, 5, maybe 6 years to 2030, 2032. Maybe, and the other one is widening the offering, which will probably be widened. Will probably soon be exposing also the first work that we're now doing over logistics, last mile logistics fleets. And we have a lot of things that we would like to widen our offering in the coming years. So that's one direction, but the other direction, staying focused 2020, 2032, if you may say, I see us mainly as autonomous mobility service providers inside cities. So as a company that's using third parties to assist them doing the operation. And back then, or back in the future, we believe that autonomy will be, and in the coming years, will become a commodity. We just need to lower prices, lower weight and volume in order to make it happen also in a small vehicle. But eventually, as mentioned, also for a taxi, even if it's an autonomous taxi, you don't need a 2-ton autonomous taxi to drive a single person most of the time. It makes much more sense than autonomous pods will take and drive people around the city. And that's where we are aiming for. I think that's one of the things that also maybe makes us a little bit different. And we are, from this vision, we are taking backwards when we'll have the first autonomous version or semi-autonomous version, mobility services and other things going from the future till today to make it happen.
Yeah, so you're also interested in being part of mobility as a service, where there is intermodal transport and there I also understood now, that you're not only focusing on passenger transport, but you will also in the future go into goods transport, correct? Yeah, and maybe that's still a secret. Yeah, so maybe you will not tell us too much about it. Yeah, but I'm already excited, and looking forward to it. Yeah, but if you want to share some thoughts on it, please feel free. Is there something you can already tell us about logistics, or is it too early?
I think that the only thing that I will tell about generally, first of all, is we look at ourselves as a mobility company and not as a car company. And for this, we are looking in each and every different kind of potential logistics solution, potential mobility solution to move people around, to move goods around this city, to make the city, to free the city, if you may call it, to make more of our precious time, more of a peace of mind, less congestion inside cities, more green areas inside cities. And for this, if this is the vision, so mobility services makes much more sense. So logistics makes much more sense. And I can only tell you that probably in the coming month, we'll reveal something of the first ideations, hopefully still this year. And they will be, the only thing that I can tell, they will be using our advantage also of the foldable chassis. It makes much more sense to use it, different from any other vehicle.
No, thank you very much, Udi, that you also shared this with us. Yeah, and I like very much this thought. Yeah, that you see yourself as a mobility company. Yeah, and I learned that you're thinking very much in the context of your role in an ecosystem. Yeah, you're looking for partners. You want to cooperate. Yeah, and I think that is absolutely the future. And I really admire that you have the courage, yeah, to go into this. And as much as maybe I can support you on this, I mean, I would also like to help. I mean, that is also one of the reasons, yeah, that we have, or I conduct these type of interviews, yeah, to give other people the opportunity to get to know you, to get to know your company, and maybe then to approach you and say, look, I mean, there are maybe opportunities here to cooperate. Yeah, that is one of the reasons why I'm doing this. Yeah. Before we now come to maybe the end of this conversation, yeah, which I really appreciate, yeah, and I really appreciate also your openness, yeah. Maybe I would like to ask you if you would have the opportunity now to promote the city transformer or the C2 vehicle to a city, and I would give you 3 sentences for this. What would you say to a city authority, yeah, to convince them that this vehicle should be part of their mobility, how should I say, their mobility landscape? I mean, what would you say to such a city?
So first of all, as we know in the researches that shows that about 30% of all congestion inside cities are caused because of just parking hunts. So a lot of the congestion inside cities is caused just because of this. And if you take this fact and you combine it with the fact that 85% of the time you drive by yourself, and cities are becoming congested from day to day, you need to think of something else. And I know that some cities, especially in Europe, look at everything with 4 wheels as the evil, and everything with 2 wheels as the big blessing, or just walking. But there are cases, or different cases, of elderly, disabilities, small kids, weather, people that are looking a little bit for safety, and others that will not ditch their cars. And if they will not ditch their cars, cities will only become worse in terms of traffic, in terms of pollution and everything. And just going on the way of becoming an EV is not responsible enough. If you really want responsibility, if you really want to change the people behaving in your city, you need to go eventually to autonomous, but then a shared and a small mobility. If you don't do small, it's not enough. Shared, autonomous connectivity, it's a great thing. But if you don't make it small, you lose most of the impact. So you need also to go small, sustainable and small vehicle.
I like this very much. Also sustainability. I mean, it's very important. And what your approach combines is it's small, it's electric, it can be shared, it's safe, and I think in the future it will be also autonomous. It's not yet autonomous, or is it already autonomous?
Not yet. 5 to 7 years, it will take time. We will not be embedding the first autonomous vehicle. It's either Tesla or Mercedes S-Class or others, and it will cost like the Mercedes. But eventually, when you draw down figures and numbers, it will make much more sense to use a low-cost small vehicle that it's easier also to manufacture a half-a-ton vehicle. For us, the vehicle plus the battery plus the passenger weighs less than a Tesla or a Daimler battery. So for most of the users inside cities, it makes more sense for the whole economy, for the whole ecosystem, and also for us living on Earth to use small vehicles.
I mean, Udi, I love it. Yeah. So for me, it's I really appreciated now this interview. Thank you very much for this very nice conversation, very interesting conversation, and I wish you a good day, Udi. Yeah. Take care. All the best. Thank you, Udi.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.